Welcome back. You're watching Newslink, and the country's electricity problems just won't go away, with more households now looking to achieve independence from the national power grid. But at what cost will this be achieved? Well, let's discuss this now with Managing Director at AWPower, Christiaan Hattingh. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Christiaan. I mean, it's a conversation that is gaining momentum, and given what we're seeing with Eskom and the fact that they're just unable to meet South Africa's power and needs. And one would just want to get a broad sense of the general cost, before we get into the details of the conversation, of considering solar within a residential space.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. It's a relevant question. I mean, we've seen with load shedding now back again, and people are forced to make their own plans. And it's become, it's at a point now where I think solar has matured, and people are starting to adopt the idea of going solar. And the whole process to get there is something that we help our clients with. It doesn't mean that you have to start off with a large investment from the get-go. You can start off with a smaller system and build up modularly. I think that's the key for most people to achieve that load shedding independence, is to not be frightened by this initial massive capital outlay.
So when we are doing gradually that process that you've just mentioned, what does that exactly mean? Can we buy the batteries without the panels? How does that work?
100%. So yeah, in terms of referring to doing modularly, what I mean by that is that if your immediate needs is to have load shedding security, in other words, have power when there's load shedding, you can start off with just having your inverter with your batteries, and as your budget allows over time, say for example in 6 months or a year's time, if you're ready to take the next step, you can then add solar to that. So I mean, that's in terms of a modular way, it enables users to plan effectively with their allowed budget, to get a system that can satisfy their needs. Obviously, if you look at a system without your panels, there's no return on investment. But we do get clients that say that for them it's not about savings; they just want to have power on when there's load shedding, to power their Wi-Fi, television, internet, security, and battery backups like that is very possible, to get initially. And very cost effective, but obviously no return on that. So if you add panels, to get the right equipment installed initially is probably the most important thing, to make your future plan as you upgrade as easily and as cost effective as possible.
No, absolutely. It's very interesting that you mentioned those two dynamics, and that some people are just looking to get off the grid and make sure that they've got power when we don't have power from Eskom, and that others consider all the elements that go into creating this alternative power source in their homes. So one big question then would be, does then this increase the value of a home should a homeowner decide to sell that property? I mean, it's an interesting one, because I think that solar is still fairly new in South Africa, and not many people are comfortable with that idea yet, perhaps even lending institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a relevant topic. We've seen during COVID times now that in terms of also financing these solar options has become more readily available. It's not, I would say, a mature position yet, but in terms of adding value to your home, it definitely does that. But there's many factors that includes it being a valuable addition. I mean, from a homeowner's point of view, you're trying to minimize, to keep things simple and minimize maintenance costs, ensuring that you install a quality system by a quality installer gives you that peace of mind that over time, you've got your warranty periods, etc., and your expected lifetime of your components. But over time, you have a system that doesn't end up being a burden for the homeowner. And also when they sell their home, at the end of the day, it's important to not overcapitalize. For example, if you only spend 1,000 or 2,000 rand a month, There's no need investing in a system that's going to cost you R500,000, for example. I mean, there's no one-size-fits-all solution to these kind of systems. It's very much based on the client's needs and their typical daily pattern on how they use energy. And we always say, living with solar is a lifestyle adoption you have to take. And it's an exciting road. The moment, we see it every day when we install systems, the moment the people install the system, they become aware of what they use and when they use it. And that's already empowering. And coupled with the fact of having a quality system, over all the years that you have it, you've got your savings, your energy security, and also not having to worry about the maintenance aspect. That increases the value. And that's the value proposition, I would say.
And then, of course, it's important to understand that the savings that come with solar-powered households are actually quite enormous. You're not paying exorbitant electricity costs as we currently are with the latest tariff of 9.6% granted by NERSA for Eskom.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's almost from a solar point of view and using electricity, it's almost the more you use, the more you save. There's an entry point where we would say and advise potential clients that, if you're using 500 Rand a month, you have to consider very carefully, is it really worth it to install solar? If your idea is to go green and to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining, then yes, go for it. But, there's the typical amount the households we see is, they spend between 1,000 and 2,000 Rand at the moment on average, and that's just going up, like as you say. So it's very important to make sure that whatever you plan on installing, that it fits your budget and is according to your needs. And I think, like as a footnote, we're trying to educate people on the term off-grid. What does off-grid mean to you? Does it mean to sever your ties with your municipal electrical supply completely, or does it mean that you want to reduce your monthly electricity bill to as little as possible? And that answer is, we always advise that when we know people are frustrated with the shilling situation, but to sever your ties with your municipality, it doesn't always make financial sense. You have to take very careful consideration in a system that can handle that. So we always say, talk to your installer and design a system that is based on your needs and your typical, daily pattern.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Christiaan, for those insights. And I think one big takeaway for me is that you don't have to do everything at one time. You can purchase the different components of converting or adding solar power to your household at different stages. And that is what I think is quite important for South African homeowners to understand and know as they look for alternative sources of power. That's AWPower's Christiaan Hattingh joining us this morning.